Hello and welcome to another 10-minute video. My name is Art and I am with Rent to Wealth. I made these videos because one, I want to share some of our processes and our tools that we use to be successful in our real estate business. And I made them 10 minutes because I don't like long videos and they get boring. And I don't want this to be a boring video. I want you to get the information and move on with your day. So let's get started. So today's video is a complete self-screening process. This is how to screen tenants completely while getting them to do most of the work. We've used this process for years and it's worked great. So let's get into it. It's a 5-step process and each one of these parts are important to the overall process. There's running the ads, there's referring them to a pre-screener, there's doing the showings, there's the full screening process, and then reviewing the lease. I'll go into each one in a little bit more detail. So running the ads, the first thing you want to do, no matter what platform you put your rental on, you want to make sure you take plenty of pictures. After all, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, so take plenty of pictures. You're also going to want to watermark those pictures. We had a situation on multiple occasions where scammers took our pictures off of our ads and used them on a fake ad at a much lower rent price to get people to send them money quickly and basically run off with the money. And then we would get people that would come back to us and say, hey, I applied for your place and I paid you guys $1,500. We'd find out later that it was a scammer. So to stop that, we told everyone to start watermarking our pictures so that they can't use the picture in a scam. The watermark usually has our company name and the phone number so that if the numbers don't match up to the number on their ad, they can at least see that. You can find all kinds of websites and Photoshop to do watermarks. I'm not going to go into that for this video. The next thing is that you want to put your qualifications in the description. So if you got qualifications that are non-discriminatory, things like income level or no evictions, no bankruptcies, or anything that you have that makes sense for you to put into your description. That way it will deter people that know they don't qualify from even applying. And people that do qualify or they're very close will go ahead and go to the next step. You want to you need to take a moment and write down the qualifications of your rental, meaning that if a person meets these minimum standards, they will qualify. The reason you want to do this is because you don't want to be discriminatory, and I'm going to go into that in the next video, screenshot. Next is to send them to a pre-screener. We use a Google form. Google form is free. You can sign up on Google, put a couple of questions in, and then give a link that allows them to go and answer the questions. We don't give them a phone number in our ad. We send everybody to the pre-screener. Reason being is I don't want to spend all my day on the phone telling people and explaining, asking the same questions. Instead, we ask them some very easy questions. There's things like name, address, income, do they have any evictions, different things, about 8 to 10 questions. We have a full thorough pre-screener that we use, but you can figure out 8 to 10 questions that you want to ask them. They should be non-discriminatory questions, meaning that they don't say something that imposes, are you this religion, or are you this sex, or are you this race? I wouldn't ask anything like that, but I would ask general questions because later on you're going to use that information against their full screening to see if they're honest and what kind of character they have if they try to lie to get into the process. So that's what you want to do next. You want to use a pre-screener, and then once you've gotten their pre-screen information, Google will send it to you every time somebody fills it out. And you can look through your list. When you go to Google, you'll have a list of all the people that have pre-screened, and you can choose the ones that you want to call back that meet your criteria that you outlined earlier. Again, I want to stress that you do not discriminate, because if you ever called on this, someone will want to see what were your criteria to screen and why you did not allow this person versus that person. Next is showings. Now, for showings, we do self-showings. There's a couple of reasons. We put a lockbox on the house. We, then have them go through the house on their own. The reason is because if you've ever done showings, you know what it's like for someone to call and say, hey, I want to see your place. And then you go over there, clean up the place a little bit. They don't show up. You call them. They don't answer the phone. And now you're basically wasting a trip over there. Instead, what we do is we have them, once we're talking to them on the phone from the pre-screener, we'll say, we want to get you in to see the house. What day works for you? They'll say, let me do Monday. And we'll say, okay, we're going to give you a lockbox code to go into the house. What I need you to do is send me a picture of your ID held up next to your face. So like a picture on your phone with your face and the ID on it. That way I know who I'm letting into the property. Once we get that picture, I'll send you the lockbox code that's good for that day. They'll go into the house and they can take a look at it. And they're not going to try to do anything funny because you've already got all their pre-screening information and you got their picture and photo ID. And most people don't give pushback to this. They're fine with it because of the fact that we're giving them access to the property and they understand why we're asking for this information. You're going to use a lockbox, and then every day or two, you're going to go change the code as needed, depending on how many showings you have. And a big part of this is to set multiple showings on the same day. You don't have to set them on the same time. They can go anytime they want during that day to see the house. But I try to set them on the same day because there's a good chance people are going to bump into each other, and that creates urgency. And that creates scarcity, meaning that someone else is looking at this place right now. So let me go ahead and make a decision. Let me go ahead and move forward. Let me go ahead, instead of comparing it and thinking about it, let me go ahead and decide what I'm going to do. So you want to do self showings and set multiple at the same time. Next, you're going to, once they go through the showing, they say, hey, I'm interested. I like this place. I'm going to now go into a full screening. Now, you can use a service for this. I suggest using a standard service that you use consistently all the time, so you're getting the same information on every applicant. They can pay for this. You should screen the following minimum items. I use income. I like to verify income, and I'll explain that in a second. Past references, which I can explain how to do that. There's another video for that. And I want to check their credit or alternate credit. We use a service that actually screens them based on bank data. So they go into the site and they fill out their own secured bank site, log in. It downloads, it gets their bank data, and then it gives it to us in a neat, easy to read report that we can look through that shows their rental payments. It shows their utility payments over the past couple of months. It shows their credit card payments, anything that's a regular payment that they make. And it shows us verified income. And the big thing about it is this is an incorruptible source, meaning that if you deal with some people, they like to go in and fix their credit or things like that and get stuff removed. You cannot fix or remove things off of your bank data. So that report we get from that service is uncorruptible. And it verifies whose bank account that is, so we know that we're looking at our tenant's bank account. This is an excellent process. If you're interested, I'll put a link to the service that we use in the video comments. The other thing is to check evictions. Depending on your state, if you're in a tenant-friendly state, I definitely would check evictions because they can take much longer to get rid of the person. If you're in a not-so-tenant-friendly state, then you usually don't have to worry about evictions too much because you can have them in and out within 30 days. But that depends on your state and your preference. Next, I'm going to go with them and review the lease. So once I've chosen someone, hey, you've got the place, we're going to set up to meet up and actually review the lease. Most people, when they get a lease, they just sign it and they don't read it. We're going to sit down and we're going to go over the lease in detail. I'm going to explain the things that are important to us, the rules and everything else. They're going to understand the rules because they're coming from me. They can ask questions. They can say, hey, I don't get this, or what about this scenario? And we can address all of those at a sit down. And it's usually a face-to-face sit down because I want them to know that there's a person looking at what they're doing. Now, you can do this in office if you have your own office. If you're like most people and you don't have an office, you can use, and for years we did this with a mobile office, which is any McDonald's or Starbucks or anything in the area. And that's usually better because it's somebody that's a public place where someone can meet and feel safe and they can sit down and talk with you. We'll collect their security deposit, or if it's a rent-to-own, their option deposit. And then we'll go from there, and then we'll give them keys at the same time. Now, what I can tell you is this process works great. Following these steps, started this about 10 years ago. Following this process, we reduced our bad tenants by about 90%. We have drastically reduced the evictions because I'm in Illinois, which is not a landlord-friendly state. It is a very tenant-friendly state. Our average eviction can take up to 18 months to get someone out of a property. But with this, we've had, in the last 10 years, I've only had to do one full eviction. Most of the time, my tenants have done great, and we've had a very good experience. Now, if you need help with this, also it helps with referrals for professionalism. They will refer their friends and family and say, hey, here's a place you want to deal with, because they had a very good onboarding process and it was very easy and made it very simple for me to move in. And that's what you want. You want people to organically spread the word about your rental so that they rent first. Now, if you need help with this, we have a self-trained course that you can take. I'll put the link to the course in the bottom of this video if you're interested. No obligation. No, I'm not trying to sell you something or push you into it. But if you want help with this, I have a full course on how to set up an entire property management system, whether you're doing one property or 100 and you want to self-manage. We also have a mentoring program if you're interested. And for that, it's a little bit more entailed, but we can show you how to build a real estate business from zero, which I've done. We've built a real estate business from over zero, where we had no money, to over multiple millions that we've made on our business over the last few years, and have been very successful. And I can help you to do that. Not that my way is the only way, but it's one way that I know that works, and it's very repeatable, and it's worked numerous times. And why not stand on the shoulders of someone who's done all the heavy duty lifting and be able to do it much easier and get to the same success level. So until next time, I wish you the best. Hope everything is going well. And if I'm not mistaken, I've gotten this thing done in 10 minutes.